We all are aware of, this meeting is happening virtually, and we thank you so much for joining, sometimes at very odd hours. Before we proceed on what the topic is today and the speakers, just some housekeeping items to go over. You must have seen that pop-up box. This session is being recorded. If you have an issue with this recording, please let us know. Please send either me or anyone from the gift team a message in the chat. Secondly, and very importantly, we do have English and French interpretation available. So if you just scroll down to the bottom of your screen, the tab should pop up and you can click on interpretation and select your language. You also have the option of keeping the original speaker muted or unmuted. So if you keep them unmuted, you would hear a faint voice, but you would be able to hear them. Then I wanted to note, as Albertina mentioned, that if you could kindly rename yourself to include your organization and first name and last name, that would be great. As an example, mine is titled IBP Swad Hassan. So in that format would be great. And lastly, a lot of this session is designed around being interactive. So we very much request you to listen carefully and keep your questions in mind. We do have this option. We've kept almost half an hour towards the end of this session for just Q&A. However, we do request that you put in the questions in the chat and we will take them at the end. You're also welcome to raise your hand through the reaction box, which is also on the bottom tab, and just unmute yourself and speak when it's the Q&A session. So with that, let's start this session. Welcome again. So today's session is a learning session on public participation. Before I head into what the speakers are going to speak about and the project that GIFT is involved in, just want to give us a bit of a history. So as you all know, IBP and GIFT, our central work is around budget transparency and citizens' capacity to be able to analyze budgets and the capacity to participate in budgets meaningfully. Now, we've seen improvements in transparency over many, many years. What was happening was that transparency needs an outlet for there to be accountability, and that is participation. So IBP and GIFT both come from this place that, and I think everybody that we talk to, civil society actors as well as governments, this central idea that fiscal policies must be aligned to citizens' priorities. That's the central idea that everybody agrees to. And we all know that budgets are a reflection of a country's public policy. However, what we were seeing is that while there are gains being made in public participation in some form or the other, really there is no robust practices that were leading to this kind of peer-reviewed evidence that public participation is happening at such a scale where policies are completely aligned with people's priorities. And so we at GIFT and IBP necessarily realized that there is a gap in the practices. Theoretically, everybody is agreeing that fiscal policies must be aligned to people's priorities, and but in practice, we were seeing a gap. So from there, GIFT decided, and with the support of the US Department of State, to launch a project called Fiscal Openness Accelerator, where we would be piloting public participation mechanisms in the fiscal budget processes at the national level. Now, for the pilot project, we've selected 5 countries. As you can see on your screens, these are Benin, Liberia, Nigeria, Senegal, and South Africa. We've got representatives from all of these 5 countries, and we are hugely grateful to all our participating countries for the efforts that are being made. I must note that while all of us are extremely excited about this project, and we were, this project started somewhere towards the last quarter of 2019. It was very immediately after sort of inhibited in the full flow by the crisis. And so we're at various different stages of the project in different countries. That's where we are. I'm going to stop here and move on to our the agenda for today's session. So it's the introduction. We'll hear lightning talks from our representatives from the 5 pilot countries. We'll take a quick break. We'll hear reactions from the Department of Interior and Local Government from Philippines. We were to hear from the Europe Foundation and their activities in Georgia. Unfortunately, they're not able to join us. And as I mentioned in the beginning, the last half an hour is meant for an open Q&A session and then a wrap up. So with that, let's proceed. I am going to first invite our representative from Benin's Ministry of Finance, led by the Director General of Budget, Mr. Rodrigo Chao. Do we have Mr. Rodrigo Chao? Sorry, I don't have all the participants in one screen, so I have to scroll down.
I don't think we have Benin reps in the room yet, so maybe while waiting, we can have South Africa first. Why? We're already here.
Sure. Sure, it's been a wonderful journey for me also so far with South Africa. So I would like to invite Prudence Seeley and Sheila Tipe, directors from the National Treasury of South Africa. If you're here, please feel free to unmute yourself.
So let me, hello everyone, bonjour tout le monde. Can I suggest, since we still have many participants with my name on the screen or Albertina's, could we take 2 minutes just to know who is around the table and maybe ask everyone to rename themselves. Alors, bonjour collègues, je suis très content de vous voir. Un des problèmes que nous avons, c'est que les noms qui apparaissent sous votre écran ou présence à l'écran est le mien. Alors, on vous demande de vous renommer, s'il vous plaît, ou au moins de nous dire qui êtes-vous pour être sûr qui est autour de la table. Merci. Sorry, Swat, for the interruption. So, yeah, to you, Swat.
Thank you, Juan Pablo. So first, let's go to our gift colleagues. Marianne, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm very glad to be here. I'm Yan Fabian, Communications and Outreach Coordinator of GIFT. Thank you.
Let's go next to Albertina.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon. I'm Albertina Meana, GIFT Program Coordinator. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you. Let me see. Next on my screen is Raquel.
Hi, everyone. I'm Raquel Ferreira, GIFT Senior Technical Advisor. Nice to see you all.
Aura?
Hi, everyone. Aura Martinez, Coordinator for Knowledge, Technical Assistance, and Collaboration. Very excited to hear from all of you.
Great. Juan Pablo needs no introduction, the Network Director for GIFT. Do you have a few words?
Thank you. No, I'm just knowing by WhatsApp that some people, particularly from Benin, are joining soon, so that's good news.
Great.
Thank you, Swat.
Juan Pablo. Next on my screen is Alina Reyes.
She's from the interpretation team.
Oh, sorry.
So, yeah, all the ones with the Kiwi are the interpretation team.
Okay. Then we have Paula Diaz.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Observatorio Fiscal in Chile, and I'm very glad to be here joining this 10th anniversary of the GIFT group. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Next, I have on my screen, just give me a second, Enrique no, sorry, this is wrong. Zuki.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zuki Swakota from the Public Service Accountability Monitor and representing the Emalia 2 Coalition as well, and on the South Africa advisory group for the FOA project. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Zuki. Great to see you here. Next, I have on my screen Ministry of Finance of Tunisia.
Oui, bonjour.
Miss Leila?
Oui.
Yes, we can hear
Bonjour,
you.
madame.
Oui, bonjour. Je suis Leila Ksantini du ministère.
I am Ksantini, Minister of Economy for the support of investment in Tunisia. And we are also in charge of training on these matters. And I'm really happy to be part of this assembly. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Miss Leila. Great to have you here. Thank you for joining. Next on my list is Brendan from IBP.
Hi, everyone. Brendan Halloran from the Strategy and Learning team.
Brendan, we're not able to hear you.
Oh. Hello?
Now we can hear you well.
Okay. Nice to be with you all. Brendan Halloran from the Strategy and Learning team at IBP.
Thank you, Brendan. Brendan has been involved in public participation in many, many ways through all of our projects going on at IBP. So great to have you here, Brendan, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. I have on my screen Gary from South Africa, Gary PNR.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon from Cape Town. Good to be with you all. Looking forward to hearing how our colleagues around the continent are progressing. Thank you.
Thank you. Prudence, over to you.
Good afternoon, good morning. My name is Prudence Kele, and I'm from the Budget Office in National Treasury.
Great to have you, Prudence. Next on my screen is Kailash Bana. Kailash.
Afternoon, colleagues. This is Kailash Bana. I'm an independent consultant supporting the Ministry of Finance in South Africa with their public participation process. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on my screen is, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Papi Wali Dion.
Bonjour.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Papuwali Dion, and I am representative of SICODEF, an organization that works with the civil society, is a member of a citizen network for transparency. And we are really happy to be part of this initiative.
Thank you, Papi. If I could ask, where are you based? Where is your organization based?
Le réseau citoyen pour la transparence budgétaire.
The Citizen Network for Transparency. That's the name.
Okay, thank you.
What's your country of origin? We are based in Senegal.
Senegal. Welcome. Next on my screen is Ibrahima Toure.
Bonjour à tout le monde.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Ibrahim Toure. I do not know whether you can hear me well, but I am an inspector of the Ministry of Finance, and we're also working on public accountancy here in Senegal on behalf of the ministry. I am really happy to be here and I am available in case you have any question. I'm happy to be part of this exchange and we are all working for transparency here and I'm really happy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ibrahim. Great to have you here. And yes, we'll be asking questions about Senegal's progress. So I look forward to hearing that. I have Laura Castillo from IBP.
Merci. Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Laura Castillo. I am, as was said, part of IBP, as a program officer in the Open Budget Initiative.
Thank you. So now is where I've reached a point in my screen. Thanks, Laura, where I have 4 Juan Pablos next to each other. And so I can go on to the next person, or I can call Juan Pablo and I know who would respond, but I request you all to just take a quick second and look at your name and kindly just rename yourself if possible. I can, what I would do in the meantime is send a quick chat so you know that this is directed to you. So thank you. Let's hear from Cloud next. Cloud Wendling.
IMF, bienvenue, Claude. Vous êtes silencieux.
I don't think we're able to hear
Bonjour.
Good morning, Claude Wendling from the Public Finance Department, Fondateur International, and I am working with French-speaking African countries and also some countries in Latin America, such as Chile. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, great to see you here. Let's hear next from Gabriela Canton Santana. I apologize for my pronunciations, but thank you for understanding. Hello, Mr. Johnson Williams. Gabriela, we'll come to you too soon.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay.
Gabriela is saying she's got issues with her microphone.
Okay. We can go on to Lindy from SPII South Africa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lindy Kay. I'm a researcher at SPI, which stands for the Studies in Inequality and Poverty. Look forward to learning a lot.
Thank you. Let's hear from Mr. Johnson Williams from Liberia. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Johnson Williams. I work for the government of Liberia. I'm at the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, the Department of Budget, and I'm responsible for the Fiscal Transparency Program with government. And I look forward to learning a lot, especially so on public participation mechanism.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson Williams, and welcome to this session. I have Ms. Julia Dimitri, FIFA Secretariat.
Hi. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all. I'm Julia Dimitri, Public Sector Specialist with the Public Expenditure and Financial Accountability Secretariat, hosted at the World Bank. Looking forward to the presentation and discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mok Diachte, if I've pronounced that correctly. Okay, we can go on to Mr. Mamadou Mansour.
Oui, bonjour tout le monde. Je sais pas
Hi,
si...
good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am not quite sure whether you can hear me and see me. Okay, great. My name is Mamadou Mansour Diagne from Senegal. Good morning, good afternoon to some of you. And I'm really happy to be with you. I belong to the organization of the Citizen Network for Budgetary Transparency that works in Senegal for budgetary transparency. And we have been working for more than 10 years. And we work together with the government of Senegal in the framework of a multi-stakeholder platform that takes care of all these issues in order to promote the exchanges between the public powers and the civil society. So we are very happy. We are working on this, and we're also establishing links with other organizations in the world, and we are very happy for this initiative. This is an excellent one, and we are very happy to collaborate and work hand in hand together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, colleagues. Welcome again. We still have a few Juan Pablos here, but as and when you can rename yourself, we'd be grateful. I'm going to start with our colleagues from South Africa who've made great progress. Before I start, for the benefit of all of our participants here, just a very quick overview of what this project is. As I mentioned, it's piloting public participation projects in all these 5 countries. The idea is that Ministry of Finance would work together with civil society organizations, form an advisory group to deliberate and come up with, to the extent possible, with topics on where public participation is most needed, most suited, what would be the best mechanism, and then IBP gift and IBP come in. My apologies, I'm just completely used to saying IBP, but gift and IBP come in with support, as well as a consultant who has experience on implementing public participation, who can then help implement public participation. So that's where we are. With that, I am going to request our colleagues from South Africa, Sheila and Prudence, to give us a quick overview, a lightning talk on where you stand with this project. Thank you. Sheila, Prudence?
Prudence will do the presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Prudence Dale, as I've already said, and I'll be presenting on behalf of the Finance Ministry in South Africa. So the process that we started in March 2020 has now come to a stage where we are able to start with the actual consultations. So it has been a journey, not an easy one, and I will be talking through some of the challenges and some of the lessons learned through that process. So as Suado has already mentioned, we, together with civil society organizations, formed a coalition of teams from both sides to come up with the advisory group that will select the best mechanism for our context. And through that process, we were presented with various mechanisms, and we had to find the one that's best suited for us. And in that process, we came across the pre-budget consultations. And the reason for us choosing that is because it is the one that was fitting some of the key questions we were trying to answer. One of them being the fact that we have a process of consultation that happens post-budget. And therefore, where would we best suit another process and be able to inform the process ahead of time? And therefore, that is one of the reasons why we chose the pre-budget consultations, and the whole advisory group voted on it based on all the facts that were presented. There were 2 other mechanisms that were selected, but they were not suitable for us, mainly because of the jurisdiction of the National Treasury in terms of the 3 spheres of government, and also the capacity limitations that we had. So the goal of this mechanism basically is to be able to inform the process, which has already started now in June for the tabling of the budget in February next year. The consultation basically will be looking at broad fiscal policy objectives based on themes that have been selected and voted on as we had our last meeting. And we envisage that we will have representation of civil society counterparts, as they also form part of the advisory group in this process. But we're hoping to open the process even wider, if that's possible. And also these are meant to be taken forward to our different committees for consideration, and also to close the feedback loop, which we've always been criticized for, in terms of not giving proper feedback to those that we've received information from. And therefore, we plan to have feedback presented either on our portal or online, and be able to issue an open call so that there will be participation not limited to those that we've previously consulted. So the pros for this selected mechanism is that the National Treasury has control over fiscal policy, unlike any other subject, because we are the custodian of the finances in the country. And the National Treasury has control over the budget process. So if we wanted to make a contribution, we will have to find the time that best suitable for us, and we will know where we can find an entry. And the timing of the inputs should be considered early, and that is one of the benefits of doing the pre-budget consultation. And this is definitely scalable and can be replicable over the years. The cons is that it's exclusive to discussions on fiscal policy. So this is something that we had to adjust and agree on, because that is where we really have control. And NT can't change the department sector decisions. We only make recommendations. So we are limited when it comes to sector information. And then another con that we see coming up is that we'll be limited in number, in that it is not going to be physically possible for us to have everyone join the meeting. However, we are looking, as you'll see in the next few slides, that we plan to have a strategy where we can accommodate as many people as possible. As I've mentioned before, that we have been criticized for some of the mechanisms that we've used. And I've mentioned that we have processes that happen already that are related to public participation. One of them being the tips for the minister. The downside of that, we don't provide feedback, even though we get thousands and thousands of information that is received. We've never really formally communicated these back. And the university outreaches is another form of public participation, where we visit universities and they provide us with feedback. We get to engage with them, but it's also mainly to inform them. And we also had a BAMF consultation that also stopped at some point, with CSO workshops that also stopped at some point. We have NetLeg, a platform that currently exists where National Treasury also participate. We also have parliamentary hearings to take place after the tabling. And the public is also required to write their submissions and submit their views on particular subjects that have been tabled. And we also have some videos that inform people about the budget process. But we've only just covered the informing part of participation. We've never really moved past that. And our intention with this process is to move towards a more consultative approach, which aims to obviously provide feedback and inform decisions, and also keep the people informed, listen, acknowledge concerns, aspirations, provide as much feedback as possible, and also have the public involved throughout the process. The objectives that we've identified as we're finalizing the action plan for the pre-budget consultations are that we plan to enrich the national budget process or policy, with inputs that are from non-government stakeholders, because we've previously just received those that are from government. This will help us to align better our fiscal policies of the national government with the citizens' needs and help us in decision making. Number two, the second objective is to improve government practices. So what we've done previously, we want to improve on that and be able to close the loop, as I've mentioned already, that we've been very bad at not doing that, and ensure that documentation of all the inputs and the responses, and there's stronger accountability, obviously, and responsiveness from the public sector. And in our last meeting held on the 1st, I think, of July, we had a discussion at length about the kind of topics that can be had, that we can discuss at the pre-budget consultation. And they are mainly fiscal policy related, as we mentioned already, that will not be having specific sector discussions because we are limited in our ability to influence. And the audience, we plan to make an open call. And the reason for the names that we've mentioned there, it's because these are the groups that we've previously engaged. So when the call is made, even though anyone can write back to the National Treasury, these specific groups have showed interest, and therefore we will be alerted about the open call with the hope that they will show interest again. So we're anticipating these are the people that may want to participate, but we are not limiting it to that. The consultation format, it was agreed that we will have a written submission. We'll have a one-day workshop. In South African context now, I think it will be safer to have it on Zoom or Teams. And the plan from our communications team is to stream on social media. The platforms that are usually used by our communications is Twitter and YouTube. This will allow us greater coverage. And the key lessons that we got from this experience is that when we started, we spent a lot of time on the administrative and governance issues. I think there were certain expectations that could not be met. And we also realized that some of the expectations of the National Treasury as an institution go beyond the ministry's capabilities. The budget process is such that as the National Treasury will play a role of our recommendations and based on the submitted inputs from the departments on what they would like to see on their budgets. But we cannot in any way override a selection of their priorities. We can only support and request more information on their selected priorities. So opening up the discussion to be about choosing for a certain sector without having a discussion separately with them or doing a consultation with them could have led to us having what they call a scope creep and deciding on behalf of the rest of government what they should be doing. The National Treasury has control over National Treasury budget process and therefore has limited control in terms of the local. This is one of the reasons why we could not do the local government mechanism where it requires that you go to the municipalities. The National Treasury officials did not want to engage with civil society. We experienced a lot of resistance internally. One of the fears is that you're setting yourself up for failure. There's no problem for you to solve. But the main assumptions being that civil society obviously are lobby groups, and if the agenda is not met, then the public participation process would have been deemed a failure. So choosing a mechanism was hard because it is hard to meet every public participation principle without compromising on something. An example being, if you select a mechanism that is inclusive, there's a great chance that it might be meaningless. And if it is meaningful, it might be exclusive. So it was very hard to be able to reach a balance and meet those principles together. The steps after all that has been said and done, and the advisory group has selected the mechanism, and we've consulted on what kind of topics we could have. We got the action plan signed off by our DG in August with recommendations and comments. And now we have appointed an expert, public participation expert, Kailash, who's in the meeting now, to help us in starting the process of refining the action plan with details, setting up the agenda for the day, selecting dates, and so on. And the support consultant has also signed their contract. And we are busy currently with meetings to finalize the final details of the process. The next steps that we're gonna take is that we're gonna agree with the DDG on the refined plan, publish the call, hopefully this month still, and secure a panel of people who will participate internally and externally, and host the pre-budget consultation in September. So that is where we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prudence. Thank you for this comprehensive presentation. Some very important points that I quickly want to highlight for our colleagues. As Prudence mentioned, this was one of the main, I think, confusions, and something that I believe not everyone was on the same page, which is related to informing citizens about the new budget. So for instance, going to universities and informing about the new budgets, is that also public participation versus actively seeking their inputs to inform the policy decisions? But great progress made by South Africa colleagues from National Treasury, as well as civil society organizations, great participation from CSOs, lots of energy. And we from GIFT and IBP side are very impressed, especially when we know that this is a challenging time and there are many competing priorities for all of us in our work field. So thank you again. And I request colleagues, if you have questions, please feel free to enter them in the chat or keep them at the back of your mind, and we will be taking them up towards the end of this session. Next, I want to go on to our colleague from Benin. I believe Mr. Persego is here. If I could invite you to speak about the progress made by Benin so far, which is also impressive. Mr. Sego? No worries, I believe he must have just stepped out. I can go next to our colleague from Nigeria, Dr. Anne Nzegu. She's the Director of Reform Coordination and Service Improvements Bureau. Dr. Anne?
Hello.
Hi, Dr. Anne, we can hear you really well.
You can hear me good. Sorry, I tried logging in through my iPad and I was having challenge. So I had to drive to get to my laptop.
Thank you, Dr. Anne. Always appreciate your efforts.
Okay. Marianne, can you project me?
Yes, sure. All right.
Okay. Hello, colleagues. My name is Dr. Anne, and I'm from Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget, and National Planning, Nigeria. And we were lucky to be one of the pilot countries. And in 2020, we attended the flag off for FOA in South Africa. And after that, we set up our advisory group, which is made up of 6 people from the finance arm of the ministry, budget arm of the ministry, planning arm of the ministry, National Bureau of Statistics, and this is on the government side. And then we have 2 from civil society side. We've met severally, and oh, okay, I skipped one thing. Then June last year, we got inaugurated the advisory group. The Honorable Minister of State, Budget and Planning inaugurated the group and directed us to work and select a mechanism for Nigeria, which we will recommend to the government. And we've met severally and made some presentation to joint meeting of GIFT, IBP, and us. However, we were very broad in the recommendations we were coming up with. So they had advised us to try to narrow it down. But with the complexity of our country, after we went through several virtual meetings, we agreed that we needed to do a consultative forum to be able to narrow down our selection on what the mechanism Nigeria will do. And we had planned to have maybe 3, one at the capital, Abuja, and maybe one in the east, in the south, and then another one in the north. However, we got a little slowed down because of funding constraint, but thanks to GIFT, they've onboarded a local technical expert and a local expert assistant that will work with us in documentation. So the consultative forum Nigeria is trying to embark on, it's likely going to be September. I thought we could do it in this August, but the month already ran out. So it's likely to be in September. We intend to have 2 days at each location. And the first day is going to be for government officials from various parts of the country. And the second day will be for civil society, NGOs, and general public. We need to have them, 1 second. We need their buy-in in selecting the mechanism Nigeria is going to implement. So
Thanks, Dr. Ann. Could I ask a quick question for the benefit of our participants, a clarification question?
We conclude the
Dr. Ann, do we still have you here? I believe Dr. Ann is attending to another call, and we should have her back soon.
I'm here.
Okay, great. Sorry, we couldn't hear you for a minute.
Okay, okay. No, I'm on.
Dr. Ann, for the benefit of our participants here, I just wanted to, you could just clarify if the consultative forum has been agreed upon to discuss the formulation of budget. So is it in the planning stage, or are you thinking of holding it towards the implementation side to discuss the implementation side? And secondly, again, for the benefit of our participants here, in the consultative forum that you would be holding in 3 separate locations in Nigeria, which is fantastic, are you inviting groups or are you keeping it open? And if you're keeping it open, how are we planning to sort of disseminate to the public that they can join?
Okay.
Thank you.
The objective of the consultative forum, I hope I heard you well.
Yes, yes.
Okay, is to select at what point. It's for the entire budget process that we're going to present to them.
Okay.
From ensuring citizens' involvement in budget planning, approval, implementation, monitoring, reporting, and auditing. But we now want to narrow it down because this is broad.
Right.
Like the presentation we had to you all before. So we will have a virtual one. However, the face-to-face, the group insists is more important because we want to give people opportunity to talk after we've presented different scenarios to them. And that's why we're doing it 2 days because of COVID restrictions. There are so many people we can have in a hall. We wouldn't want it to be overwhelming.
Right.
And then the second day will be more of public, civil society, NGOs, and all that. Then when we finish, we will now come back to Abuja to harmonize the feedback we got from the consultative forum.
Okay.
So we intend to have a virtual one if we are not satisfied with what we got at the face-to-face. But we're going to be a little selective in bringing people. If not, when you tell 10 states or how many states to show up in one place, you're going to have 300 people in one room. So we're going to be selective because we can't do that crowd.
Yes,
but we needed their buy-in. If we don't do that, they will say that government has made a decision and picked something that they are not part of it. And when the real implementation starts, we're going to have a problem and challenge. And we want to use that as an awareness as well, because we are going to have a newspaper publication stating where we are at what days, but we will now try to say strictly by invitation. Already, I've compiled a database of civil society people from different states, the key ones. We make sure we try to invite them to the workshop.
That's wonderful. That's great progress. Thank you so much. Colleagues, again, I hope you've understood this, but we've got a chance towards the end of the session to ask more questions to Dr. Ann. Thank you so much, Dr. Ann. Next, I want to move. Go on, Dr. Ann.
No, that's fine.
Okay, thanks. Next, I want to move on to our representative from Liberia, Mr. Johnson Williams. Yeah, let's go ahead with you, Mr. Johnson Williams.
Thank you, Sue.
We just want to hear how far you've made the progress and what plans your ministry has.
Yes, so
I'm trying to share my screen.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you so much.
Okay. So Liberia, I am jealous about South Africa. I'm also jealous about Nigeria. Dr. Ann, how you doing? Is she there? She gone? Yeah, so
She's
for
still
us.
there.
Hey, Pablo.
Thank you, Johnson. We're listening to you.
Okay, yeah. So for Liberia, we are just about to start. We were on course with our technical preparation. We met the Minister of Finance in 2020, and before our meeting in South Africa, and he embraced the idea highly. When we return from South Africa, we have started our technical preparation in terms of putting together the TOR for the advisory group, trying to figure out members of the advisory group on the government side, and as well as from the civil society. And then we had to deal with the coronavirus outbreak, and we went into a lockdown from March 2020 to September. And then we had major elections in 2020 as well. And then we had a change in the fiscal year. We had 2 budgets to prepare for, so we were really off. We're not able to go. So we are now, what I'm about to present is what we have shared with the Minister of Finance. And he's still interested in joining the stewardship meeting tomorrow, Pablo. So the Deputy Minister for Budget has already got this, and she has agreed to it. So I want to go quickly now.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to start off with a brief overview of where we are. Where we are as a country. Just want to share. So in our latest report from the IBP 2019 on public participation is 6, as you can see there. And if you look at the PIFA, we also score a D. We failed the last report of the PIFA in 2016, the orderliness and the participation in the budget process. The U.S. State Department report of this year also mentioned similar things. So we are at a point where we taking public participation as high priority. So going forward to the project, with the support of the U.S. State Department and managed with gifts, we will be able to do this. Also, we will be getting some support from the World Bank and other partners I will specify. And the objectives for that is to improve our fiscal transparency program, and as well as introduce the public participation mechanism in our annual budget process. So the way we want to go about it with the gift and the World Bank support program, which again I will come so that it doesn't sound like we are duplicating functions here or duplicating efforts. Yes. So I will talk about the World Bank. How is the World Bank going to support this process? So we, in partnership with the civil society organizations, we're going to establish an advisory group that's going to look up after the social audits, which we have selected. And we'll look at a number of things. I was listening to South Africa experience, it has been a challenge for us because we look at all the different types of mechanisms, and given what our laws say and the way that our government operates, we think in our mind, in our view, is that the social audit best suit us for now, and is consistent with our budget law, is consistent with the Constitution. It supports a different kind of PFM initiatives and programs that have been ongoing since 2012. And we'll be looking forward to the rich experience in gifts in other African countries to see how we can better shape our program that we can achieve the intended objective. So in brief, the Fiscal Transparency Advisory Group will meet routinely to look at and to look at implementation of the mechanism, what needs to happen, and looking at the recommendations that are coming out of some of our experiences, and then advising the government on what course of action to take. They will also advise on the design and implementation of the mechanism. They'll have a say, and what are the priority areas to look out for year on year or during the course of the year. They will have to undertake review of the work plans, and of course, where there were loops, have been identified through feedback, try to see how they can close those loops. So that's in summary. We have the details. Just try to summarize, and then the members of the advisory group will include the GOL and the civil society organizations. Our civil society organization that have been selected, and it's the CENTAL, Center for Transparency Accountability, Institute of Research and Democratic Development, IRED. We have the Women NGO Secretariat Liberia. We have the Center for Democratic Governance and the Community Development and Research Agency. These institutions are into budget transparency. Specifically, they're looking into education. For example, CENTAL is heavily involved into education matters. IRED is also into PFM and budget preparation process. The Women NGO Secretariat is also they are mainly engaged and focused in the areas of where the budget look out and provide for women, girls. They are and then the Center for Democratic Governance and Community Development and Research Agency, they are also involved into revenue, especially the natural resources and the social development fund. So they are involved into budget execution discussions at the county level. We call that a county sitting, when the government makes available appropriation in the budget, and they have to meet to discuss it. The citizens gather to perform suggestion on why and where they want that money to be allocated. So these are the areas that they cover, and we talk to break down on board. That's the basis for that selection. We have the Ministry of Finance from the government side. We have the Public Procurement and Concession Committee. We have the General Auditing Commission. We have the Bureau of Concessions and the Liberia Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. So again, on the U.S. State Department, in the reports, both in 2019 and 2021, they keep talking about the Bureau of Concessions in terms of the way they go about conducting their meetings, the rules, how they apply them. So we thought to bring them on board. We look at the IBP, for example, there are a number of recommendations on, again, for public participation. We're talking about how they want to have citizens to have a say in the type of audits and when and where to do some audits. So we thought to bring them on board. And so this is the background for bringing these institutions. We will be working with the legislature because the talk about budget oversight is again, public participation is there in terms of how we want to bring on board citizens to go before Parliament and during the legislative debate to provide make some testimonies on the budget formulation and approval process, and as well on the other reports. So that's the reason why we brought in the GSC that does the audits, so that they are aware of how they could also use this opportunity to be able to come up part of the mechanism and see how they can get involved citizens at that level. The Ministry of Finance will work with under this program, going to work with the Legislative Budget Bureau Office that looks at the deliberation and approval of the budget. And we'll be working also with the Public Accounts Committee that discusses and prepare for the public hearings on other reports. So we believe this is how we want to work with the legislature through the two specialized institutions, the LBO and the PAC, in a bid to see how we can get them on board, and we'll take it from a government-wide approach. So that's the thinking behind that. That's our intention. And the areas that we will focus on for now will be, for the social audit, will be on budget formulation process. The Ministry of Finance will invite these 5 civil society organizations, send out official invitations. They will attend our budget preparation discussion, both at the technical level and at the policy level. For example, during the education sector meetings, they will be there, they will attend, they will ask questions, they will be allowed to provide some suggestions on how they think. And under the program, they will now be responsible to go and solicit inputs from the citizens and to bring it to the budget process. So the government will not be the one engaging citizens, soliciting their support. So the civil society will be the one, as part of responsibility. If you look at the detailed TTORs, they'll be the one soliciting, gathering the inputs from the citizens, and come to the sector meetings, for example, and present on behalf of the citizens on what their concerns are for education, health, agriculture, and so forth. At the policy level, yes, and they will also make some testimonies at the policy level for the budget preparation. By the consistent with our law, the Ministry of Finance is to conduct hearings on the budgetary proposals. So they will also be allowed to attend the hearings and see where the consistency are from the sector meetings up to the hearings, and of course provide some questions as well. And they can provide some expert opinion. We are thinking to start with this because of the coronavirus. All right, we're having limited participation now. The cabinet is now going to take over the budget process, so we cannot continue to engage with all the agencies and institutions. So at the cabinet level, our plan is that at least one, at most one of the civil society organizations, they will select their representative that will attend cabinet meetings and will be able to provide testimonies, basically, before cabinet take a decision on key policy areas during the budget process. So again, we'll be compared to limit the participation, the attendance, because of the restrictions imposed by the virus. So that's at the formulation stage. That's at the approval level. We are talking about the hearings at the legislature. They will be allowed to participate. They will ask questions and also provide expert opinion. Now, At the budget execution, this is where the actual social audit in the context, in the definition of a social audit, will actually lie, yes. So at this point, they will have exclusive freedom without any interference from the government to go about and monitor the budgets, including the revenue and public expenditure as authorized by the legislature, approved by cabinet and authorized by the legislature at any time they want, raise their awareness on revenue generation, and give government feedback. So these are the areas for now we have thought of to social. And then we'll make the reports, we want to begin, as we indicated, this, as we look into this budget preparation we're looking at, we want them to start their social audit in terms of review and tracking where the spending went, beginning 2020-2021 budget, which ended this year, June. So this is where we want them to start and see, because the budget went through 3 revisions. The 2020 budget originally was passed at 570 million. We had to recast the budget because we realized additional revenue, it went up to by 24 million, it increased by 24 million. So it was passed by the legislature, 594 million. Now we had a COVID-19 resurface. We had a second wave, and there were additional pressure on the government to increase spending. So we had to pass a supplementary budget that took it down from 595 to 625 million. So there are huge investment we've made. So we want to test pilot and see how much benefit the citizens got on 2020-2021 that received 2 supplementary budgets. That's the reason why we want to begin from there. There have been reports, other reports by the GSC that has been submitted to the legislature. We want them to also begin to look into that. And as I indicated, working with the PAC, the Public Accounts Committee, for them to be able to attend the hearings, within the hearings, and hopefully provide some testimonies based on the 2020-2021 budget that was authorized and consistent with the GSC report that is soon to be released for the same fiscal period. Now, here is where the World Bank and other partners are going to come. The GOL will may provide some funding for some of the initial things that are going to happen. For example, putting in a budget to make the work of the LBO more functional and the PSC more functional. Try to see how we can increase that budget to make sure they do some of the things. The IBP is interested in the LBO and the PSC publishing their minutes and yes, their rules. So we want to look out to provide. The civil society organizations that would go out and do the actual social audit work. Under the World Bank program, they have exclusive funding that they can access to enable them get into the field to be able to do the work they want to do. So this is the reason why we put up there the World Bank support. That's how much the World Bank will be supporting the CSO, and that's the only area. So there will be no duplication. I just thought to make the clarifications so that we don't have that. And of course, the feedback from them will help us hopefully. Yes.
My friend, I have to ask you to please conclude in 1 minute or so. Thank you so much for such a detailed and really well received news from you. This is wonderful. But our friends from Benin are letting me know that they will have to leave soon because they have another meeting. So please, if you could conclude soon, that would be fantastic. Thank you again.
I'm almost done. Thank you. So They're going to have exclusive access to data and information consistent with our law. The reports that we produce on past budget performance, they're going to have access to that. The sector strategy, the budget call circular, the option paper, the budget framework paper, outturn reports, and etc. So those are the areas they're going to cover. And I want to thank you for the time for giving us the opportunity. We look forward to your contributions to help improve on our plan. We haven't started, so we're looking forward to your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnson William. Thank you so much. Very ambitious plans, and great to see that you're collaborating with different arms of the government. So we'll keep our questions towards the end, but you must have seen some pouring in the chat. Very promising,
yes,
as they all say, and aligns with IBP's experience as well. Without wasting more time, I want to go to our colleagues in Benin. Mr. Sego, Mr. Chow, please feel free to start with your introduction and progress so far made in Benin. We're all excited to hear. I, for sure, am very interested and excited about the developments in Benin. Thank you. Over to you. We are not able to hear clearly. If you could just increase the volume, that would be great.
I'm really sorry. This is the interpreter, and it's really hard to understand.
D'accord. Merci beaucoup. C'est Monsieur Sego. Oui, on vous entend. Rapprochez-vous du microphone si possible.
If you could tell the speaker to speak louder, please, and closer to the microphone for us to be able to interpret. Thank you. This is the English booth. It is really difficult to listen, to hear the interpreter, the speaker. We apologize. This is the English interpreter. We cannot hear the speaker.
Yeah, very sorry, Juan Pablo. I think, would you be able to message them directly to inform that we're not able to hear? I messaged, but in English, unfortunately.
Oui, Monsieur Sego, la connexion, on voit très bien votre présentation, mais la connexion du son n'est pas optime et les traducteurs ont du mal à vous entendre. Alors, si vous pouvez parler plus lentement.
Est-ce qu'on m'entend mieux?
Oui.
Can you hear me better now?
Et parlez plus lentement, s'il vous plaît.
Mr. Williams, I think you would need to go. Yeah, thank you.
Pablo, je peux aller.
Continuez, monsieur, oui.
D'accord, merci. Donc, je disais que nous allons partager l'expérience du Bénin à travers les points.
So we're going to share the experience of Benin. And I'm going to talk about the project FOA in Benin. We are losing the speaker.
En introduction, nous n'avons pas à dire grand-chose. Tous ceux qui participent à ce programme.
We would like to present you with the introduction of the project, and there are different topics that we wanted to address, especially budget transparency, fiscal transparency, and we wanted to achieve a better knowledge and understanding of the fiscal process, and also to understand all the, to facilitate the understanding of the fiscal documents that are available to the public. Also, we wanted to provide an easy access and a timely access to these documents. We also thought of the improvement of fiscal governance, and we also wanted the public to learn on the fiscal activities, the current and the future, and also the past activities of the state. The public participation was one of the goals we had. And also we thought about increasing the accessibility of the public. Mr. Senegal, I kindly ask you to speak slower. We can hear you, but we cannot hear you that well. So in order to make interpretation possible, we kindly ask you to speak slower. Thank you very much. Of course, thank you. So we also want to improve the fiscal governance, and our leitmotif is to advance in the availability of data to the population and working on accessibility, as I was saying. It is also important to work for the public office to present results to the population and to grant access to the different figures and activities that are relevant to the actions of the state. So the project, the FOA project in Benin, has different ambitions, and as I was saying, Benin is eligible because it has different characteristics that allow the country to implement all these types of projects. There is representation, a good representation of the civil society in the country, especially by means of Social Watch Benin, who works with fiscal opening, and also there are different progress, the different areas in which we have made progress since the IBP assessment in 2017 to facilitate the accessibility to information, to financial and budget information in a language that is understandable to all citizens. Also, the interest of the government is to adhere to the Open Government Partnership. And another point that makes Benin eligible is the capacity of the General Directorate of Budgeting to learn, share, and teach on their experiences and their lessons learned. So we have a consultation group of FOA in Benin, and it's composed by the different members of the General Directorate of Budgeting, and this includes the Cabinet Director, the General Director, myself, Director of Programming, Politics, and Budget, also the responsibles of the piloting unit for the improvement of transparency, and Social Watch Benin is also part of the council, and some NGOs such as Changement Social Benin. So this is the consulting group of FOA Benin, and they have different activities in order to attain a series of results. So of course, I'm not going to mention all of the activities and all the results that are on screen, but this is just to show you what the direction of the whole project is and what we are working on, and that we have a very structured way of working. And
de développer ou de s'approprier un mécanisme de participation publique.
So it was important to understand whether it was possible to appropriate a transparency mechanism that would promote the activities we are intending to implement in the country. And this is what we thought of these activities, for instance, to develop and validate a Benin mechanism for promoting public participation in the processes of transparency. And also in the fiscal processes. Due to the quality of the audio of the speaker, the interpreter is going to first listen and then give you a quick summary of what is being said. Thank you very much.
Could we ask you, Enrique, to kindly request the presenter to enlarge? Just click on the book button here to enlarge, so at least our participants can read what is on the slides.
Oui, monsieur, la présentation qu'on la voit a les lettres qui sont très petites. Si vous pouvez peut-être élargir un tout petit peu, mais sinon, oui, c'est mieux. Merci, très bien. Formidable, formidable. Sinon, on ne veut pas changer le setting parce que
thank you for zooming in. So we will anyway distribute this presentation to everyone, but we would like to be able to read for those who understand French. Okay, please go ahead. Thank you very much. So I was saying that our first concern was to implement a mechanism for the promotion of public participation in the fiscal processes. And for this, we turned to the international community who is already working for transparency in other countries. In order to develop this mechanism that promotes the participation of the general public in our country. So it was important to understand and design what we wanted as a model for this mechanism. And we came up with a model of what we actually imagined as a potential mechanism for our country. And we also thought of actions that the citizens could take once they could be trained by this, in the framework of this mechanism, for them to become more involved in fiscal processes. And it was also important to think what kind of tools were necessary for facilitating accessibility, also for understanding the fiscal processes. And we received many proposals from the population as well in order to work this out. Then we submitted our model for this mechanism of promotion of public participation. And this was completed as I just explained. We also defined the technical features and the technical characteristics of this mechanism for the model to be validated and for it to be and to ensure the public participation in the long run. And like this, BENA can one day feel proud of having developed a mechanism, a functional mechanism that promotes the participation of the population in all the country's budgetary and fiscal processes. Of course, there are some challenges that we have seen. For instance, the digitalization processes that we are going through right now. So we had to identify what actions were necessary to overcome all these obstacles we identified in order to facilitate the process we were intending to initiate. So we thought of different phases and steps that we had to take in order to generate capacity and build capacity among the citizens to participate. But this should be, we thought it should be in a step-by-step process. And for this mechanism for promoting the participation of the population in fiscal processes represented a great deal of work from all fronts and from many stakeholders. And for instance, we endeavored to bring the possibility to the people to just select the topic they want to learn more about, just to click when we talk about a digital situation or interface, and then that people can just select what they want to learn about and get the information they need in order to also participate and also to give their inputs in the same way.
Les points focaux de l'unité qui travaille pour la transparence et tout le réseau d'organisations de la société civile qui tourne autour de ces points focaux en matière de suivi budgétaire.
So another important issue, another important topic that we worked for was the socialization of the mechanism. And this was made by training a network of different organizations that are civil society organizations and work on the utilization of these mechanism. And we also organized some series of awareness raising sessions and also training sessions on the use of this mechanism and at universities, both private and public, in the whole country. And we also trained the financial staff of different ministries and institutions of the state on the elaboration on the use of this mechanism. So as you see, we were working with different stakeholders in order to socialize and to develop this the framework necessary for the implementation of this mechanism. The language was also an issue, because the language in the past, when we were talking about transparency or fiscal participation, the language was not easy to understand. So we also worked on the development of more comprehensible and accessible language for the civil society to be able to understand the concepts and share this work with us, and for the society and the general population to have access to all these processes for this process of transparency. Also, for this, we entertained a series of sessions and conversations with civil society organizations in order to define what was necessary to be changed or modified in terms of language, and also to listen to their opinions and their inputs. And that's why we had very important exchanges with these organizations. So this is how we developed the so-called BOOS prop, which is the name of the mechanism. And next slide. Just a second.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sego. Very, very much appreciated. I apologize for the sound problems.
Quelques petites minutes maintenant pour vous parler des
Just need a couple of minutes to tell you about the challenges and different obstacles we have had or come across.
Sure. If we could do so as quickly as possible. Apologies, we're running a little short on time. Thank you.
D'accord. Merci beaucoup. C'est notamment la mise en place d'un manuel d'utilisateur de l'outil.
So the implementation and the publication of the website was one of the challenges we had, and also the official launch of this tool. We also thought of the implementation of a user's manual for this mechanism to be made available to the public. And we also thought of the elaboration of different training tools that would be part of the mechanism, and also the training of the financial staff at different ministries and institutions of the state was one of the challenges we still have ahead of us. But this is definitely part of the implementation of the BOOS Pro. And like this, we will open a new path for the citizens to participate in fiscal matters in the state in a more optimized way.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Sego. If I could quickly summarize, the BOOS tool is an amazing new tool developed by the Ministry of Finance that summarizes and makes available to citizens in an interactive interface all of the budget documents, the budget process, and the entry points where citizens can participate on an app that is available through various mediums. Right now, as the app stands, they have made it the budget documents and the budget information really easy to understand. Where GIFT is entering is to make the tool, is to provide additional support around the dissemination of this tool to citizens as well as technical assistance. So we want to make the participation element of this BOOS tool to be more interactive, and to another element that we are working on along with the consultant is to increase the awareness around this tool. So we can take questions later on. Thank you so much. We have our last country here, Senegal, part of this project. I'm not sure whether representatives are still present. I had seen them some time back, but I don't see them now. So I'm just going to call out representatives from the Ministry of Finance, Senegal. If you are here, please feel free to introduce yourself and present. And if I could request
Oui,
in
on vous écoute.
as quickly as possible. Yes, I see you're here, Mr. Diouf. Thank you so much.
Effectivement, nous sommes présents.
Limited as we don't have much time.
Voilà, très bien. Bon, peut-être il n'y a pas de présentation particulière de PowerPoint à faire. Juste
So we do not have any PowerPoint. We don't have any presentation. So
that's okay.
I had some things to do, so I'm really sorry.
No, not at all.
Okay. So I actually sent you the list of the email of all the email of the group members, but I think as I explained in our previous meetings, well, we actually need to create an approach that we can share. So we have some challenges there, and the relaunching of the works of the group are the biggest challenge we have, because we had already been working, and we heard of the experiences of Benin and South Africa. So this is they're doing really well, and we're a bit worried because we're laying a bit behind, but well, that's one of the challenges we have, to resume our activities. And I think that after this meeting, we will get down to work and establish a work plan. But for the moment, we are working on other projects. We are also, we identified some weaknesses in terms of transparency that we are addressing. So in this respect, the great challenge we have is to resume our work and to start defining an approach that we can share with the rest of CSOs and anyone who would be interested in integrating the population in budgetary and fiscal activities. So yeah, as I said, relaunching and resuming our work and talking about our approach is the challenge, the next thing we have in the pipeline. And well, this is all I have to say on that respect. And one day when we have that, we will come with a presentation. And well, now everything we have left is just to keep on working, define a line of work, a work plan, as I was saying, and to find the ways to collaborate with the civil society. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Diouf. We very much appreciate your honesty, and we completely understand that these are extremely challenging times, especially for ministries of finance, but we appreciate your enthusiasm and your commitment to continue on this topic as one that is of importance. We very much look forward, and we're here to support as much as we can. So go ahead.
Bon, on n'a pas de problème particulier si on devrait même rédiger nos comptes rendus. Ça, c'est pas le problème, mais c'est vraiment.
So the problem was not drafting, but actually to organize the whole work, because we have Mr. Mo who wanted to say something. So please go ahead. I'm So as I was saying, this is not only about the Ministry of Finance, but also a work that should be done in collaboration with the civil society. And this is the coordination of efforts that we're trying to establish right now. So thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see Mr. Mok Diakte has his hand up. Is this something related to Senegal that you would like to speak? Please go ahead.
Oui,
Go
oui.
ahead.
Allez-y, monsieur, on vous entend. Monsieur Diakat, allez-y.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Je suis Mor Diakhaté, donc un acteur de la société.
So I am Mordia Khate, and I am part of the Network for Transparency in Senegal, and we are working on the participation of civil society, and we are working for fiscal transparency. So we have a local group that is already organized for this work and for raising awareness on transparency. And the job is to explain to people what budgetary transparency is, what fiscal transparency is, and to foster the participation of people in budgetary and fiscal affairs. So that's what our network is doing, and this is a national process. There are other initiatives that could start from this, and well, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mogdiakte. That's very much appreciated. We have two items left on our agenda. One is to invite our colleagues from Philippines to give an overview of their app Dev Live. The remaining time we can keep open for Q&A session, but I encourage you all to write your questions in chat. If we're not able to address them today, we will try our best to get back to you, perhaps via email, and try to respond to any urgent questions for sure. So with that, I want to give it over to either Mr. Richard or Nigel from Philippines.
Yes, good evening. Can everyone hear me properly?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Hi, so good evening. I'm unfortunately, my boss, Richard Villacorte, can't join us tonight. I think they're having technical issues in his condominium. So instead, I prepared I understand the time is of the essence, so I prepared a quick presentation for the two topics he was supposed to discuss for Dev Live and for the GAP. I just like to provide a very brief overview on the two projects. So can I get permission to share my screen, please?
You have permission, Nigel. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So I think I'll go with the GAO first. So I'll try to make this as brief as possible. So basically, the GAO. The GAO is a series of town halls that the Philippines has been conducted since 2018, and its main goal is to build mutual trust between the government and the Filipino people by providing an open, neutral, and protected space for dialogue. So our goal is to open and create these spaces wherein citizens, without any fear or concern, they can pose questions to their government, regardless if it's as trivial as how to avail some basic service or very hot issues like, for example, there are questions right now on how the drug war is being run in the country, or how we are currently pursuing the peace process in the southern part of the country. There are instances where citizens have asked that and they've gotten frank but sincere answers. So we want the town halls to serve as that as a kind of platform for citizens to ask those questions to the government. So yeah, very briefly, it started in 2018 first as an open government and participatory governance regional dialogue. Then it was rebranded in 2019, where it embraced the idea of the GAO. The brand the GAO is with, which is a term which means togetherness. So it really emphasizes the idea that it's an endeavor between the government and its people. It's not just a simple IEC from the side of the government present programs. No, the goal is for citizens to come and actually talk about important issues. So when 2020 came and the COVID-19 pandemic started, we had to go virtual. So we were still able to conduct town halls. In fact, we were able to conduct 10 successful episodes at the national level, and we still had around 1 to 2 per regions. So we were able to, despite the hectic nature of 2020, especially when it comes to access to information, especially with governments focused, a lot of governments, not just the Philippines, but focused on efficiency and responding to the pandemic. Our program was one of the few that remained that really tried to provide a avenue for citizens to get information and to ask status on government programs from the government. So for 2021, the development we're trying to push for is we're trying to make the town halls occur, or we're trying to roll out the town halls so we started at the national level, the regional level. Now we're trying to get every province in the Philippines to have at least one Tagyao. So that's the goal for this year, and hopefully the coming years, we're trying to even bring the concept of the Gyawan down to the barangay level or the village level. So that's the plan for the next couple of years. So the GAO, or the technical working group who handles the project, it's partnership between the DILG, the Department of Interior and Local Government, the PCO, the Presidential Communications Office, Operations Office, DBM, the Department of Budget Management, and we have 2 CSO partners, the Right to Know Right Now Coalition and Code NGO. So as you can see, the technical working group is comprised by both non-government and government partners. So each Dagyao, basically what happens is, so we invite government resource persons to talk about specific topics, but we emphasize that it should be brief as much as possible, because we want to emphasize what happens after the presentation. So after the government speaker has talked about his specific topic, we invite representatives from the development sector or the academe. So for example, we invite speakers from the ADB, from UNDP, or some of the academic institutions in the country to give their perspective on the issue. Then after that presentation, we also invite a CSO to provide their feedback. So you'll see we have 3 different feedbacks on a specific topic. So there's a multifaceted approach in discussing the topic. So after those presentations are finished, then we go to the meat and heart of the town halls, which is the open forum. So this is where the citizens come in and they can ask important questions or even questions close to their heart. So we've gotten a wide range of topics for the town halls. So in streaming, for this year and last year, we focused on going virtual because, again, the COVID-19 pandemic really makes it it's dangerous to gather crowds and to organize events. But in some areas for this year, we're planning to conduct at least very, very limited town halls in areas that have really poor ICT infrastructure, or really, for example, in the mountainous area where they really can't. They don't have the technology to really take advantage of the virtual resources. So, but for the most part, we're still doing it virtual up to this year. Participants, again, the emphasis of the town hall, it's an event for the public. So we mostly invite civil society organizations, development partners, academe, business groups, public sector unions, media, and people's organizations. So that's the core. We want citizens to come to these events, and not necessarily. This is not necessarily just for government. But we also, one of the things we're changing this year is we're inviting a Filipino sign language interpreter, because it is one of the feedbacks that we got from previous years, where a lot of there were some participants who couldn't engage because they didn't have this available to them. So it's one of the changes we're making for this year. And one of the important changes we implemented last year, and we're continuing to do so, is the idea of a co-creation process. So CSOs should be invited to serve as a co-equal partner in each of the technical working groups who handle the town halls, both at the national level and at the regional level, and including the provincial level eventually when we get there. So Importantly, we task our CSO partners to be the ones to actually decide what kinds of topics they want to discuss in each of the town halls. So rather than imposing it, the government imposing what kind of issues we want to discuss, we leave it to the prerogative of the CSO partners to actually pick and select not only the topic, but also the resource persons and the kinds of discussion and the questions that they want asked. So that's really, as you can see, it's really a co-creation. There's really there's an equal partnership that happens when it comes to preparing and rolling out these town halls. And finally, for transparency and accountability, the documentation for each town hall is updated. It's uploaded online and it's freely available to the public, especially the Q&A, because that's where the answers and the accountability of the public officials to the certain issues that are being discussed is shown. And more than that, each of the open forum, the questions are gathered after each event, and those that are not answered, we still send them to the agencies who are handling them, and we actually ask them to actually reply to the citizen that involved that this is the answer to your question, and it's also uploaded online. So we really want to emphasize that we want to try as much as possible to close the feedback loop. So if there's a question, there should be an appropriate government response to it. So yeah, very briefly, that was the GEO. And if I still have time, I can perhaps share DevLive, what DevLive is, if you'll allow me to.
Sure, sorry. Sure, let's, if within a minute or two you could share, I think participants would be interested in seeing.
All right, I'll try to gloss over it again. I'll try to gloss over it. So yeah, at least we can follow for the interest of time. So very quickly, so yeah, is the PowerPoint showing? I'll just gloss over the entire PowerPoint. Yes, so in a minute, let's try. So basically, DevLive. DevLive is an Android application that was developed in partnership with the United Nations Development Program. So its goal is to gather citizens' feedback on how projects in the country are being conducted. So it has several key functions. So you can use it to search for select government programs that are enrolled in the app, and you can provide feedback to those government programs. It also works offline. At least the searching feature, the function of the app, it works offline. But if you want to file a report, you have to connect to the internet. And basically, you can send photos of your feedback. Like if you have a complaint of a specific area, there's the building wasn't properly built, or there are problems with this medical facility. You can upload photos and videos of that issue online. Then you'll have a way to track where the feedback is right now. So it will praise you where the feedback is, and what the government response is. There are a set number of days that we require the handlers of the feedback to reply to you. So a few more things. So there's an automated flagging system. So if there are very negative feedbacks, the government implementers are notified about it. So they're encouraged to reply as soon as possible if there are negative feedback to a particular project. And we also we protect the identity of the user. So the users are not shared to the government agencies that are in charge of the project. So they don't have any fear of being targeted for leaving negative feedback. And of course, at the government side, each of the feedback is also moderated to ensure that the feedback actually is valid. So it's not just spam or whatever. There are people who moderate each of the submissions before they're sent to the government agencies involved to respond. So that's just about quick numbers for 2019. We have gathered nearly about 5,000 individual feedbacks, covering 1,000 projects in 264 private or local government units. Around 2,000 citizens used the app and submitted valid feedback nationwide. And one surprising thing is, of those feedback, a lot of them were overwhelmingly positive. So we were expecting a lot of negative feedback. Instead, we got the opposite. We got a lot of positive feedback. But we did also get yellow and red feedback, just not so good. But our partners in the different agencies were able to respond to those individually. And finally, moving forward, we want to expand this app to be used by other agencies. In fact, it's one of the large developments happening right now. It's currently offline, but because we're trying to make it be more easily accessible by government agencies, because we want to submit the app to them so that they can make it, they can customize it to their specific needs. So we provide the platform, and the government agencies can tinker it as they please, and they can select whichever projects they want to get monitored. So yeah, that's basically DevLive and Tagyao, and very briefly. And so thank you.
Swab, I think you're muted.
Unmute.
Sorry, I'm going to request either you, Albertina, or Marianne to unmute me. My screen is frozen, but it seems like Zoom is working in the background.
Yeah, we unmute you. We are listening to you now.
Suad, you're muted again. Not sure what.
So can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm really sorry about this. My screen is frozen, but I can only hear but not really do anything. I just wanted to, I know we're out of time, but I wanted to give participants a chance. If you have any burning questions, please feel free to ask us. I also want to note here that you are welcome to email us about any question that you have for a particular representative, as well as we will share the presentations and the recording of this session on GIFT's website. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. If we don't have any questions, I think I have one for...
I see some questions in the chat, one specific for Nigel from Suki.
Could you, yeah, go ahead, Nigel, if you would like to respond to that. I'm sorry, I'm not able to see the chat.
I can read it out loud. So Suki is asking if the DevLive is also covering all government spheres of projects and also public-private partnership infrastructure.
So right now, there are only a select few programs, and not really few, but there are a lot of programs. As in the PowerPoint, I will say there's around right now 31.1 billion pesos worth of programs currently enrolled, but it's only for selected agencies who have chosen to upload. For example, our agency, the Department of Interior and Local Government, has uploaded several dozen of its programs for citizens to provide feedback to, and we're hoping in the future to enroll more programs into it, so that citizens may provide feedback to them as well. But if I may emphasize one last thing from my presentation as well, these programs, the GYAO and DevLive, we really emphasize the importance of closing the feedback loop. And it's something that I think is important. It's an important question to ask in every program that was presented today. How do we tackle the issue of that particular issue? If there are questions raised in the course of the implementation of your programs, how do we address it, or how do we properly direct it to the proper government agencies, for example, or how do we make sure that the agencies actually address it?
It is, Nigel, I had a quick question around this. It could be not so quick depending on how you respond, but I'm happy to probably take it up later. What I'd be interested in knowing is, I understood the feedback loop to be responding to the question that was asked, but I'm interested in the bigger picture here. So if there is a feedback of there being an issue in service delivery in certain regions, how do you then ensure that there is an improvement in that service delivery? Or, for example, if there are complaints about an infrastructure project from multiple people, how does that get communicated to the main authorities that then actually influences the outcome or improves the outcome or the service delivery in this case? If it's time consuming, happy to take it on later.
Very briefly as well. That's a bit higher level, more higher level, unfortunately, than what for example, at least for the Giao, that's a bit higher level than I guess what the events are meant for. Because for example, it really focuses on providing a platform for citizens to conduct dialogue. But although it's important now, for example, feedback to specific projects or directions that the government is taking, we do ensure that these that agencies are properly apprised that these are these are the sentiments of the public right now. But unfortunately, we don't, as for the Giao in particular, we can't, compel these agencies to actually to integrate specifically some of the feedback being provided. We do make sure that they're properly apprised. And of course, that's where partnership with the CSOs also matters, because the CSOs are also supposed to put pressure on the government agents. For example, there are issues raised that they're supposed to address them, or they're supposed to go in this particular direction.
Yeah, thank
Sorry
you.
if my question is a bit vague. My answer is a bit vague. My apologies.
No, not at all. I completely understand what you're saying. This is something we're experiencing in all ministries, that there are limitations to the authority, even if the intentions are for absolute improvement, and something for everyone to think about. But any last questions? Otherwise, I want to give the floor to Juan Pablo for any closing statement.
So I think there's another question from Zuki for Dr. Anne. I think she was asking if Nigeria is also following the same co-creation process in what is described by the Philippines in selecting your FOA topics for consultation. And then I see also someone raising his hand, Mamadou. Maybe he can ask the question.
Yeah, Mamadou Mansour. Dr. Anne, would you like to respond to Zuki's question about co-creation and selecting a topic? Dr. Anne?
Her screen is frozen, Dr. Anne.
Yeah.
You might having turn off your screen, Dr. Anne, to see if we can hear you. You seem we can see you, but it seems that you're a little bit frozen there. In the meantime, we can listen to Mamadou Mansour Diagne.
Yeah, please go ahead, Mr. Mamadou Mansour, with your question.
Oui, rebonjour à tout le monde et merci beaucoup et félicitations pour les intervenants.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for your participation, and for all my congratulations to the presenters. There are very enriching initiatives in different countries that we have been following up on, and this is very satisfying to see. We had the collective of Senegal. There are many actions in our country on the civil society level, and these are very interesting actions. I can see that DevLive is a tool. We have something like that in Senegal that allows the citizens to take photographs of projects or public works that are not well built or not good. And we developed this tool on the level of the civil society in Senegal. And there are other initiatives in order to promote the citizen participation in the follow-up and the monitoring of budgetary and fiscal transparency in Senegal. And I have a question for our colleague from South Africa. If I understood well in your development and your presentation, I think you talked about the difficulties there were between the local governments and civil society for the joint participation on the fiscal initiatives. So what is the nature of these difficulties? Because normally you have to collaborate with the local governments and the civil society, and there should be an exchange for transparency and for fiscal efficiency. So what is the criticism that people are having of the local government? I believe I understood there was some political issue, so maybe you can tell us a bit more about that, because in Senegal, there are very interesting interactions between the local governments and the civil society. So thank you very much.
Merci, monsieur. Swad, are you still with the technical difficulties? Because if that's the case, we can help you out. Bon, merci de votre question. Oui, let me unmute you. Well, someone help me out with the unmuting Swad, if you please. Alors, votre question sur l'Afrique du Sud, je crois que puisque des difficultés spécifiques, ils font...
So, these difficulties make reference to the fact that the participation mechanism in South Africa was a decision of a consultation group that decided on the control of our colleagues in the finance ministry on the national level. And this decision gave the Ministry of Finance the possibility to control the mechanism in a way that excluded the possibility of cross-sectoral participation and also the involvement with local governments, because this level of the government has no access to this. So this was a strategic decision rather than any other nature. And of course, there may be other reasons that our colleague may mention from South Africa. But as far as I can see, the SWAT is having some technical problems, so well, we can go on with the meeting, and I would kindly ask you whether you have any.
Yeah, go ahead. Did you get the question, Dr. Ann?
I think I did.
There was
You
a question.
asked if the civil
Okay,
society
go ahead. Go ahead.
will be part of making a decision on the mechanism. And I said yes. The advisory group is the one that is conducting the consultative forum. So when we finish, which 4 out of the 6 members are civil society people. So when we finish and we come back, we harmonize our feedback and make recommendation to the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning. And they
Dr. Ann, your voice is breaking up. I don't know if that's only for me or everyone here.
Everyone.
Yeah, everyone. There's a problem with our connection.
Dr. Ann, turn off your video.
I'm trying to stop her video, but I can't.
Okay, Dr. Ann, sorry. We see you speaking, but we cannot hear you.
So we're working together in the advice.
We got that part, Dr. Ann. So, Swad, we can probably try to conclude. Thank you.
Yes. And thank you so much. And I apologize for the internet connection issues on my end as well. I can completely understand what participants sometimes go through. So we empathize. We're all in the same boat with Zoom and all of these connections. Before ending, any last words from you, Juan Pablo? And for the Ministry of Finance from Tunisia, your point very well taken about political involvement. But before ending, any last thoughts from you, Juan Pablo?
Just a word of a very big thank you, my gratitude on behalf of the team for your time, for your involvement, for overcoming as much as possible the technological challenges that we have been facing, and also to express our enthusiasm because little by little, but steadily, we are no doubt moving forward with the ministries of finance and civil society organization working together to have the mechanisms of public participation in the budget process. Dr. Ann, I see that you want to say something, and you are always welcome.
Thank you.
Go ahead. You are back.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm back. Was there a question for me? It keeps kicking me out and I keep coming back.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
No, we were just concluding. At this point, we were just concluding. We were welcoming everyone with their efforts. We were thanking everyone, and that includes you, your team, your partnerships, and your government colleagues. And we were just closing because we are late.
Really on.
And we would like to also underline on the question from Tunisia and about the political will. It is true that we need the support of the high level of government. But it is also true that in most of our countries, there are rooms, there are space, more than rooms, there are space for collaboration if the Ministry of Finance and civil society are willing to find that space that can be well defined, that can be well established, and where citizen engagement can really enhance the possibilities for the Ministry of Finance for implementation, monitoring, or designing the budget. Political will is very important, but even when that is not that obvious or explicit, there are rooms for collaboration. And with that note, I guess we can end. Swat, thank you so much for your facilitating role, and to you now.
Thank you so much, colleagues, for staying on. We went over by quite a lot. If you have any questions, please feel free to send it to the gift team, and we will try to answer. And any requirements also, we are happy to answer via email. Thank you so much. Take care. Hope you have a wonderful Thursday and a wonderful Friday tomorrow. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Seeing you all.
Thank you.
Oh,
bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.